Hey there, no-coders and low-coders, and even coders are welcome. In today's video, I'm going to be walking you through the basics of grabbing and displaying device information in your Appgyver application. Now, the 5-second rundown, Appgyver lets you make mobile and web apps completely free without code, as long as you make 10 million in revenue or less. So we're going to make this video pretty quick, and this has a ton of different use cases, but for this video specifically, we're just going to grab a couple text boxes, and we're going to display different device details and figure out how we can set this up to actually benefit us and, have other more dynamic applications in the future. Now, I did want to jump in really quickly and let you all know that you definitely need to make sure that you're following any and all applicable rules, guidelines, laws, etc. when you're not only grabbing and displaying, but potentially storing an individual or user's device details. So before we get started, don't forget to like and subscribe and check out the channel for new content. All right, so let's just go ahead and jump straight in. On the right-hand side over here, I'm basically just screen mirroring my phone. So this is the Appgyver preview app. So you'll see if I go back, then it will essentially just take us back to this screen here with all of my Appgyver apps. I have tutorials on each of these in my channel, or most of them, and how I made them. So we are starting from scratch today. Rarely do I do this, but wanted to walk you through the basics from the beginning. So when you log into Appgyver and you create that application, it lands you on a page that looks just like this. You'll see we don't have any variables, we haven't made any changes, everything is basically what you would call stock. So what we're going to do is we're going to be utilizing formulas, and we're just going to save everything to app variables and display it. So this is going to be the foundation for a couple of other different features. For example, if you want to show different pages based on the type of device, whether it's a tablet or a desktop, things of that nature. So you're already hopefully getting some ideas about how you can use this. But today's video, this is just going to be grabbing device specs. So we'll put C specs below, and then we're going to have a couple of different text boxes. Now you can set this up however you want. I want to set mine up on page load. So one thing that I've kind of touched on in previous videos, if you go to page layout and then you open up the logic box down here, you'll see you have page mounted and page focused. I've noticed that page focused has worked better, as when I use page mounted, I didn't see the app variables loading. So we'll use the page focused in a minute, but just to kind of show you, if you want something to happen as soon as your page loads, this would be the best way to do it. That way you don't have to click a button to initiate an action. So what we're going to do is we have 4 text boxes here. So we're going to go make 4 app variables. Now, when it comes to variables and what type to use, check out the link in the description. I have a video walking through variables and formulas, but for this, we will just call it, we'll just do literally 1, 2, 3, 4. 3, and then we will add app variable 4. Now, obviously, you would want to have a better naming convention, but basically, we'll just go ahead and assign these out. So remember with number of lines, if you're noticing some of your data is being truncated, check this setting right here. You can see when you hover over that it's basically set to 0 with no lines restriction. But if you wanted to cut it off, let's just say it's returning maybe 100 lines of text, then you can use this option here. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to content, and you have 2 choices. You can use the formula for the data variable, which is very simple. You just click here, delete everything, and go to data variables. And in this case, it would be an app variable, and it's just app variable.1. Now for the next one, we're going to use app variable 2, but I'm going to show you the alternate method. So we're going to go to app variable, and we'll click 2 and click save. Now if you want to see how it formats it, you can select this again, and when you go to binding type and choose formula, you'll see it actually automatically formats it exactly the way the prior one was set up. So anytime you want to make any changes or see how things are set up, you can basically go back, check on the formula, and you can copy and paste if needed. So for speed, we're just going to do the same thing. So we're going to put these in order. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now, again, we're just going to go to data and variables, app variables. We will set 4 right here. Now, basically these variables are set, but we don't have a value assigned to them. So that's the next step. So what we're going to be doing here is we have to figure out what variables to assign. So we want these to be assigned when the page is focused. So what we will essentially be doing is we are going to set the app variable. Now, if you don't want these to be displayed, you don't need the text box to be present at all. So when we go to title or page layout, we would set 4 app variables. Now you have 2 choices. You can set them all at the same time, which I recommend, because if you were to link them, for example, if you set this one to run first and then this one, you could run into an issue where, let's just say this one can't be assigned for whatever reason. Well, then all of a sudden the other ones aren't going to be assigned either. So I think it's better to get some data than no data. So you can Control-C, Control-V if you're on a Windows device. I think it's Command-C, Command-V or something like that on a Mac. And we are going to connect this to each of these app variable blocks. And by doing this, this is saying when the page is focused, set the app variable to whatever we're about to say. So we are going to set variable 1, and we're going to do these in order. So you'll see we have the option to set the variable and then assign it to what. So we're just going to go ahead and set this up because it's a little quicker when we're already kind of in that mode. So we'll set this variable, app variable 2, and we will repeat the process here. And if you're interested, as you will see if we click on this one again, you should be able to check basically when you're going to those binding types, your assigned value, which we'll go over in a little bit, but you can use the same shortcut we covered earlier for the formula. So in this case, app variable is going to be app variable 4. Now this one doesn't give us the option for formulas, but for assigned value, you can. So let's do this real quick. So we have these all set in order. Let's make sure 4 is set correctly. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go through and actually choose an assigned value. So basically, what device specs do you want to show? So the reason I have my phone over here is I want to show you the difference between using a phone and a browser. So we can go over to Formula, and then we can delete these double quotes, and you can either go down to System Variables, or if you're interested, you can just start typing up here, SYSTEM, and you'll see System Vars comes up. And then you can just put dot, and you'll see all the system variable options Appgyver has. So for example, we could do system variables OS, and you'll see we have iOS, Android, all these different options here. So we can double click here and click save, and now on page load, we're going to get the OS. So we'll save this and we'll test it out real quick. So when I refresh this page, you'll see it's Windows by default. So let's just run it from the start. So we'll click Launch, Distribute, Open Build Services. I apologize. It's Preview, Open Preview Portal. And then we will click on the app we're making, and you'll see it shows Windows over here, which is correct. And over here, we'll go on Device Specs, which is the same app, and you'll see it says Android, which is also correct. So what we're going to do next is we want to assign the next one. So what we're going to do is we'll go to Page Layout, set app variable 2. Now we have to find the next value. So we know the device type. Maybe we want to know a little bit more detail about that device. So we're going to choose assigned value, formula. And this time we'll delete the double quotes, but we're just going to scroll down and go to System Variables. And you can basically scroll through and see what you're interested in. Now, one thing I will note is this browser option doesn't seem to work very well. For me, it was still showing browser name as Netscape, so I was unable to get this one to work. So we'll do that one last. So what we can do here is, if we wanted to see System Var's screen height, so let's just say we wanted to show height and we wanted to show width. We could do formula, and then we'll scroll down again and we'll go to System Variables and we'll do screen width. And then we need to choose a fourth variable, which we already said we were going to choose. So in page layout, set app variable 4, and we'll choose the assigned variable. And for that one, I'll show you the one that wasn't working, but we'll pick another couple for example's sake. So what we're going to do is scroll down one more time to system variables. And then we'll scroll through. So in this case, I want to choose the browser name. You'll see right here it says Netscape. If we chose browser, it would return this object. So we could choose browser code name and save. And I would expect this to be Chrome in this case. So now when we have this page reloaded, you'll see it says Windows 864 1536. Now one thing I'm interested to see is if this is resized, if that changes anything. And it doesn't look like it is. So it's grabbing the browser details there, which, again, it's showing Windows 864 1536. It's showing Firefox for some reason. And in this case, you'll see we have the other browser dimensions here, and it's not loading the browser. I'm assuming that's because we're in the preview app and not in an actual browser. So one more thing we will try just kind of walk through, again, other examples for this and some useful options. So when we're scrolling through, if we wanted to use a different system variable, and let's say, for example, we wanted to look at, there's, for example, file system options here, so you can see directories and all of these different options. So there's a ton of details. But you should also be able to find different things such as system operating system or system OS, release environment, runtime. So in this case, I think it'd be useful to know the OS type. So we already have iOS and Android, but we could learn more about them. For example, native or web, runtime versions. You can see the URL schemes. So what I'm going to do is we're going to find the form factor, because I think this is going to be the biggest and most important thing for a lot of people to determine how to display content. So we'll save this. And I don't believe it took that. So now we're going to go back and we'll have to double click it. Sometimes if you only click once, it doesn't go through. So we are going to scroll back down and we're basically just looking for that same option. So form factor, save, and we will save. And you'll see it'll update on both screens. So this one says tablet, which is on my phone. I'm not sure if it's going to say phone or not, but I am on a Z Fold 4 and this is the outside screen. Unsure if that's going to change anything, but over here you will see it does say desktop, so that's working as expected. Now, if you want, you can truncate this. There are different options. I believe those are covered in different videos, but if you have questions, drop them in the comment box below. And I'm going to put a link below to a description or to a video on how to use this. For example, maybe you want to display certain content for tablets versus phones versus Windows devices. I'll cover the basics of that in the next video. I hope this helped you all. If you have any questions, drop them in the comment box below, and I'll see you all in the next video.